Modernist poet T.S. Eliot is a great example of a writer who has very firm views on how people should not be living their lives. Eliot wrote many of his poems in the early 20th century, living through the Roaring Twenties, a period that saw the decline of spiritual and moral values as people indulged in the hedonistic excesses of their frivolous post-war lifestyles. Workers were increasingly driven from the fields into factories, lifestyles became more urbanised and mechanical as industrialism swept through the working classes. Eliot's poems, The Hollow Men, published in 1925, The Wasteland, published in 1922, and The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, published in 1915, are explicit in their critique of how people should be living their lives. Eliot was clearly disillusioned with the meaninglessness and monotony of the new lifestyle he was observing, expressing his belief that people should be living their lives of greater freedom, spiritual depth and purpose. He valued the pursuit of more spiritual lifestyles that offered people the opportunity to cultivate the depth of their moral character, rejecting the superficial ways in which people interacted with each other in his society. Similarly, modernist writer F. Scott Fitzgerald yearned for a return to the comparatively more meaningful lifestyle of the pre-World War I era, with his novel The Great Gatsby, which was published in 1925, expressing his strong disapproval of those who live to pursue wealth at all costs, indulge themselves, and embrace superficial public identities at the expense of moral substance. Of course, it is what these authors value and the values that they reject that makes their work worthy of our ongoing attention. Values can endure beyond the time and place in which the author was writing. So while we clearly do not live in the early 20th century and we have not experienced the ways of life that Eliot and Fitzgerald were observing and condemning, their work is relevant to us because of the values they represent. We may not be able to relate to the specific brand of grand, extravagant wealth exhibited in the 1920s parties with glittering gowns and jazz music as displayed in The Great Gatsby. But what might resonate with us is the reality that living in the 21st century Western world exposes us to the ever-accessible representations of hedonism, excess and mindless, superficial indulgence that we may find sometimes sickening, while others seem to relish in the pursuit of such experiences. We might also be able to relate to living in a social reality where consumerist values influence people to spend all of their hard-earned money on things to look their best and prop up their identity with labels and objects, while internal substance seems less important. Let's have a go of identifying specific values in Fitzgerald's novel that may resonate with a 21st century audience. If we place the spotlight on the character Daisy from The Great Gatsby, readers may be able to relate to Fitzgerald's rejection of values that encourage women to find social acceptance by adopting particular surface mannerisms or behaviours that make them more attractive or appealing to others, while a woman's ability to cultivate intellectual, emotional, or spiritual substance permits them less social currency than their aesthetic beauty. As a person living in the 2020s, a full century after Fitzgerald was writing, I can certainly observe overlaps in the values of our two quite distinct social worlds. If I am an individual who values the development of intellectual, moral, emotional, and spiritual depth, then I could readily be critical of the ways in which our current consumerist capitalist culture offers so many distractions from such pursuits. Therefore, as I am reading the work of both Eliot and Fitzgerald, I would be likely to pick up on examples where the author's values resonate with my own. As you are reading a literary work and seeking to identify and understand its resounding values, you can ask yourself the following questions. Are there any values I can relate to here? Are there any parallels between the worlds of the author, their work, and my own world? Are there any aspects of the text that make me think differently or more deeply about my own values? Identifying ways that you can relate a work of literature to your own world can help you to work out which are the enduring values that allow it to stand the test of time. You may have noticed by now that I am big on questions. I believe that continually asking questions is one of the best tools I have discovered and applied in my own English studies. Asking questions to explore ideas, values, or perspectives more deeply, and then more deeply again, is a crucial skill in learning how to think critically. You can't engage in genuine, original, deep literary analysis without doing your own critical thinking. So a big goal I have for you in completing this course is for you to learn to ask the right kinds of questions to help you unpack ideas, values, and different perspectives for yourself. Approaching new texts, ideas, and perspectives with an attitude of curiosity, openness, and a willingness to keep going deeper allows you to truly unpack what is in front of you as you keep asking questions until you are satisfied that you have reached the heart of the matter.